How much finer is it to have a memorial, a building which is useful and beautiful, than to have a mere monument which, though it may be great work of art, still is really a needless and impractical expenditure of money and effort.
So the Montrose County Courthouse was actually, it wasn't designed originally as a courthouse. There was a meeting in 1918 after the signing of the World War I armistice. And in that meeting, it was discussed that instead of building a memorial, that they would build a courthouse as a memorial to the soldiers that lost their life in World War I.
With the construction of a courthouse, we would have a memorial which is good to look at and at the same time necessary to the administration of our Commonwealth.
They thought at the time that it would be a useful item that could also honor those soldiers. One of these discussions at that same period was how they were going to fund the courthouse. And so you have to remember, back at that time, the assessor's office, not only did they value real property, but they also valued horses, bicycles, any type of asset that people owned. So I can only imagine that the assessor was an unpopular person back in those days. Anyways, they that first year in 1919, they did generate $27,000 in property tax revenue towards the courthouse. And so they had a vision to try and pay for this courthouse through a mill levy by the citizens well before the construction even started.
The construction started in 1922. It took them 14 months to completely build the building. It was done in 1923. It took them 14 months to build it. It took me 22 months to stiff it. I would think back the original construction crew and the challenges that they were faced with. Whenever they went to pour the concrete, there wasn't a concrete plant that you called in order to the concrete. They had to go to the river and get their own sand and gravel. They went up on the Uncompahgre Plateau and cut their own trees. Well, it was a community event, and I believe that in order for them to have built this building in 14 months, every man in Montrose was involved with the construction of this project.
Well, when I first came to the courthouse, it was being vacated. But before that, it was like a one-stop shop for everything. At one time, the commissioners were in the lower level. The HR director was in the lower level. This is where you came to get your license when you were going to drive a car.
In my time there, all activities around the courthouse, years and years ago, Montrose used to have a little community band. They'd sit on the courthouse steps, and it started 7 o'clock.
The biggest thing I can remember about this building is coming down here with my grandparents and with my mom. This building was always bigger than life and absolutely beautiful when you'd come up the front steps.
When you make these journeys to the Civic Center, bring your children. Let them see the inside of the courthouse and let them become familiar with the proceedings which bring you to its doors. The Montrose County Courthouse has served generations of Montrose residents for nearly 100 years.
The building was tired. The building had been used very well. Like the third and fourth floors had not been used for over 20 years. I think had been some water damage, maybe a broken water line or something.
When I read it in the paper that they were going to tear it down, I thought, oh no, that's the prettiest building in Montrose. But I didn't give up. I went home crying. The second year I came up and I said, can I get the courthouse on the story? No, we're not ready yet. We may still tear it down. And I said, oh, so I went home crying again.
At least for the last 15 years, it's been a discussion on and off. Unfortunately, the economic times did not allow for renovation. Plus, it also, you're spending a lot of public taxpayer money for this project, and it finally took a board of commissioners with the financial ability and fortitude to actually go on with this project. We were able to keep the historic aspect and character of the building, function at a downtown location which is convenient for the public. We were able to consolidate most of the county primary offices into one building and keep our original commitment to the people who built this building as a memorial for those war veterans.
I hereby proclaim this building as the crown jewel of Montrose.
I love this old building. I feel that it was my destiny to be part of this project and take the lead on doing the renovation. I would like to describe this building as old meets new. On the lobbies of the 3rd and 4th floor were all put back together to look like the original. The entire building is now state of the art. It's got 100% new electrical, 100% new plumbing, HVAC, communications. There's over 5 miles of data wire inside this building.
We had the same vault door. We used the same historical furniture that was in the office. We have our grandfather clock that's on the wall that always in the office came into the courthouse when the courthouse was built.
I think when we opened the time capsule, just by the contents within that time capsule, all the directories, all of the churches, professional organizations, the clubs that were involved. I mean, this was definitely a community event, right? Everybody attended that, and they wanted, historical remembrance of the people at that time that were in this county that all supported this project and were part of this project. And so I think it was very interesting that many folks. Montrose County was not that big, but if you look at the time capsule documentation, it appears that everybody somehow belonged to some sort of organization that participated in contributing to that capsule. This building is owned by the taxpayers of Montrose County, and they should all be proud of it, and hopefully it'll last another 100 years for the next generation.
It's like coming home. We just been on a long vacation.